Welcome back to the Hair of the Dog podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Begley, and today we have an incredible guest for you. I can't even tell you how much I loved this conversation. We're pulling back a little curtain of woo. We're pulling back a little curtain of mindset. We're pulling back a little curtain of law of attraction. All of the things. We're going to quantum physics town, just like the first or second stop. I'm not getting too crazy. Anyway, you're going to love this conversation. It is with Johl Dunn from Melbourne, Australia, who has been a successful photographer for many years and as well as a successful photography coach. And we are just talking about all the things that hold all of us back, myself included. And you are going to want to listen to this episode. So stay tuned. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Hair of the Dog podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Begley, and I am here with a very special guest all the way from Australia. I have Mr. Johl Dunn, who is known, I think, best for a mindset little shifts, which we love to talk about here on the Hair of the Dog podcast. So I'm super excited to chat with you. Welcome, Johl.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Of course, of course. For the people that maybe haven't heard of you before or you are new to them, tell us a little bit about your background and how you got started in the photography industry.
Yeah, cool. Well, I've always loved photography. Like I sort of knew I wanted to be a photographer probably from, you know, 11 or 12 years old. So I was really lucky in that sense. And went to university, did photography, and then got a job at a glamour photography studio. But I soon realized, I wanted to work for myself after working for someone. So I started my business when I was 22. So I was very green. I did not understand what I was doing at the time. It was, ignorance is bliss type of thing.
Right.
But I learned a lot really quickly because I had nothing to lose. I didn't have any mortgage or kids or anything like that. So I just sort of went for it. And yeah, learned a lot of lessons. And I had my photography business for 21 years. Started with weddings, then moved into portraits, and then about 5 or 6 years ago, started doing coaching on the side it was going to be a side hustle, and that just kept evolving into the full time hustle. And last year, I think I was only working probably 4 or 5 hours in my photography business.
Yep.
I had two part time staff that were just working on the business and doing everything for me. I would pretty much just do the shoots, and it was going really well. But I just wanted to really start focusing more and more on the coaching because that's my passion now. And yeah, I love helping photographers get through their blocks and move their business to where they want it to be.
I love it. I love it. Those roadblocks in our business, not roadblocks, road forks in the road, I guess, can be hard and scary sometimes. I remember when I started my photography business in 2010, and then about 2015, I was rebranding. And at the time, those first 5, 6 years, I photographed families and pets. And then the families were so easy. I did zero marketing. It was all just word of mouth referral, beautiful wall art, like multiple $1,000 sales. And I liked it. I didn't dislike it. So making that decision to go all in on the pet thing at that time was terrifying. But it came to the point where it's like, all right, I only have so many hours in the day. And if I want to grow the pet side to what I want that to be, then I need to make some decisions.
Yeah, and I think anytime you make, like I've had that happen a couple of times, like with weddings to portraits was the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a really thriving wedding business, and but I wasn't happy anymore. It wasn't lighting me up anymore, particularly because we had our first daughter around that time and I was away, on a
Mm,
weddings, you're away all
mm-hmm.
the time. So I was missing too much. So changing was a huge fear for me. And our income really did dip for a period of months there, but then we doubled it really quickly because when you follow your passion, I think you're taking action easier and it's lighting you up and it moves easier. You can take the actions necessary. And for me, and probably the same for you, I need to be passionate about what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sort of why I moved to coaching, and that's the evolution. That was a fear thing as well, giving up something I'd done for 20 years. It was like a little safety net, my photography business, because like I said to you before, I was only working 4 or 5 hours in that business last year, and it was running,
Right?
multi-year business running by itself. And a lot of people are like, "Are you crazy? Like, why are you giving that up? Like, you're hardly working in it." But it was for me, it wasn't lighting me up anymore. Like,
Mhm.
this is what lights me up, like helping other photographers. So it was, yeah, jump in, and when you jump all in on something, you will success will follow. I believe.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, I think a lot of people sometimes try to force it with doing what they feel like they should be doing, which is I mean, what's what I did when I started. In 2010, there weren't really pet photographers. It was like, "Oh, well, if I want to have a photography business, I need to photograph humans." So, that was it's can definitely be hard, I think, to break out of what we feel are society's kind of constructs and then make our own business. But I think we've seen a lot of opportunity in the past, gosh, 5 years or so because there are just so many different things that we can photograph and different ways to run our business. I know that's one of my favorite things to do when I'm working with my students is helping them design a business that fits with their lifestyle and their goals. So, do you want a part-time business? Do you want a full-time business? Do you want to do this on the side to make some money for vacations? Do you want to leave your corporate job? Um, you know, gosh, there's just so many opportunities there and I think one challenge people maybe start to have is they get overwhelmed in trying to figure out what they want. So maybe they start testing all of those different things. Do you have any advice for anyone out there that's maybe trying to figure out if they should stick with, maybe there's someone like me that they're doing weddings and pets and they don't dislike the weddings, but they love the pets.
Yeah, like I always think it's what lights you up the most. Like
Yeah.
what makes your heart sing when you think about doing that particular genre. And yeah, a lot of the time it's the fear that stops us. Like, well, weddings are good money. I know I can make
Mhm.
it. And it's same when I started business coaching because I talked about mindset and spirituality and meditation. And 5 6 years ago, that was like pet photography probably was. It was really like not a thing.
Right?
It's becoming more of a thing now, so it's accepted more. But I just believe you can't, especially when you're a photographer, you can't do multiple genres over time really well.
Mm,
One
mhm.
or two, two's great. If you're doing 3 or 4 or 5, it's diluting the message too much. It's you can't be everywhere at once, and you got to with marketing, it's being specific. Like I
Mhm.
work with a lot of pet photographers, and being that specific is you're focusing in on that genre. Like when I started coaching, I was small business, small business owners. That's very broad. And then
Right.
I was zoned in on photography business owners, and that's a small portion of the market. Easy to talk to that portion of the market.
All right, we're back, everybody. You guys might notice that Joel will sound much better now. We had a little tech snafu, and the recording software chose his regular mic instead of the good mic. So anyway, we're jumping back in now. But you brought up a really good point, Joel, and one of the reasons that keeps most people stuck, and that is fear. The four-letter F word, and I mean, I guess it goes hand in hand with confidence because not feeling like, "Oh, I don't know if my work's good enough," or "I don't know if the time's right," or "Oh, I don't know if I'm ready," really leads into that fear. Do you wanna expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, the thing with the interesting thing with fear is it's fear. It's usually fear. We look into the future and like I guess a future we don't want is what we find when we look in the future. We always go to the worst case scenario. So it's like, if I choose this, if I leave my job and do this business, what if this, and this happens? And what we need to do is focus back on the present because there's so much of the stuff we fear never eventuates. Right.
Mhm.
So, and a lot of it revolves around money with business as well. And the interesting thing with that is it's not the money we have right now that gives us that fear or that stress. It's the money we think we're going to have in a month, in 2 months, in 3 months. So, a lot of the stuff I do with my clients is present moment awareness and coming back to right now because the only action you can take is in the present moment. So, it's coming back, reeling your thoughts back in and going, hey, what's an action I can take right now to move in this direction instead of where my
Mhm.
fear is taking me? And it's all about decisive action, and action that's moving you outside your comfort zone, which is going to move you into fear as well. But it's about stepping over that line and doing it anyway. That's the key to successful business.
Yeah, 100%. I've always heard that fear is false evidence appearing real, which it does seem really real when you're there. Yeah, what was it? It was the fear is being fearful basically of an unwanted outcome. And is it, oh no, but like, or fear slash anxiety and depression, sadness, like kind of that heaviness is more being focused on like
The
the past
past,
that we
yeah,
can't change. So truly learning to live in that present is such an important mental health aspect.
yeah, it's a life
Yeah.
aspect, but how your life maps out into your business, and it's all to do with how you show up. That's why meditation and mindfulness practices are so powerful. But the thing is, they're only tools, right?
Mhm.
So what I do with my clients is we create tools or habits or structures daily and weekly to go into that place of presence. But if you just leave it in the meditation, you're only doing it for 10 minutes a day, then you go back to normal thinking. It's not working. So over time, it's about building that into how you show up. So
Mhm.
it's all about awareness. So when you're aware that your thoughts are going into the past or the future, it's about being able to bring it back, because the first thing
Mhm.
you'll notice, you usually don't notice the thoughts, you notice the feeling in the body, and that shows up as anxiety usually, or stress or depression or whatever. When you notice that feeling, it's like stopping and where are my thoughts? And usually
Mhm.
they're 10 steps ahead. And it's like, what techniques do I have to bring that back and focus on now? And I've been doing this for years and I teach it, but it still happens. Like it still happens
Right.
daily.
Cuz you're
But
human.
yeah, we're all human. Like I'm not a yogi. Like, and you have to live in the world, right? So it's
Mhm.
about utilizing some tools to make you aware of what's happening, and then you can overcome it, and you can take action despite the fear as well.
Yeah. No, I love that thought too of just noticing, because usually we can notice how we're feeling, and when you're feeling an emotion that isn't good, it's not an emotion that is going to be serving you, especially when it's of an emotion of worry or stress. What are some of the techniques to kind of turn that around and bring yourself back to the present?
Yeah, there's a lot. Like meditation's one I recommend daily.
Mhm.
Um, Other things is sometimes you just need to get an emotion out, and
Mm.
it's different for everyone and different at any time. So that can be journaling, like just journaling your thoughts, conscious streaming sort of journaling, not anything in particular. Sometimes it's going for a run or punching a punching bag or getting out into nature, because when you're out into nature, it's more expansive, right?
Mhm.
And it could be breathing techniques. I give my clients lots of little things and just like 5 minute breathing exercise, or just sitting outside in the sun for 2 minutes, like it, because we're so time poor. It doesn't have to be an hour long. It doesn't have to be a
Right.
long time. But a lot of the time, it's just noticing, just understanding, like, oh, why am I feeling that anxiety? Okay, I'm thinking about, you know, an interview I've got with Nicole coming up and I don't want to muck it up. Oh, well, and then it's okay, come back, right? Like that might be a thing. Okay, come back to right now. And then,
Right.
okay, and then you can't just take a few breaths and get back into what you need to be doing now.
Yeah, I
Not
love
what,
that. What advice do you have for people that are maybe they're like, I haven't really done any meditation. I hear that I should. I've tried to do it and just like, I don't know, I just can't meditate.
yeah, I'm actually
Cuz we're
doing,
we're all type A and it's very hard.
yeah, like I'm doing on my Instagram page, actually, we're going to be doing some posts on this. That when I started doing I tried meditation for years on and off and I couldn't do it.
Uh-huh.
Then I found Vedic meditation, which is slightly different. I think it's really the best for business owners, where you have a mantra to concentrate on in your head to bring you back. But the thing
Mhm.
is, people meditate, and I did this too. I had to start with 5 minutes because I literally couldn't sit still for more than 5 minutes. Like I'm always tapping, I'm always on the go So it's start where you're at. Like if it's 2 minutes, just start with two
Yeah.
minutes. And then I built up and now I do about 20, 25 minutes twice a day, most days. But it took time. But the thing is, people think they're doing it wrong when they sit there and they can't bliss out and there's thoughts going on.
Right.
That's actually what's going to happen and supposed to happen because the thoughts are just stress leaving your body. Now, the stress and the thought aren't tied together. It's just thoughts will come up, you let them go, and you come back to your mantra, or other ones that come back to your breathing or different things.
Uh-huh.
And that's it. You're just releasing thoughts and then coming back. And it's work. It's not going to be bliss, particularly at the start. And
Yeah.
like I have meditations now that are great, really blissful, but not all the time. And a lot of them are just still those thoughts going on because your body's de-stressing and
Yeah.
it's practicing present moment awareness. So it's training your brain to come back to the present moment, come back to the present moment. So it's like training. Like it's not supposed to be easy as well. That's
I
the
love
thing.
that. And
Yeah.
then one of the reasons they call it practice, right?
Correct, correct. But
Yeah.
the thing with meditation is if you do it twice a week, you'll get a tiny bit of benefit. If you're doing it
Mhm.
5 to 7 days a week, you get a dramatically better benefit. It's like going to the gym. You go to the gym once a week, it's not going to really do anything. You
Right.
have to do it consistently. And that's why I get all my clients to do it first thing in the morning. Because what you'll notice if you don't do it first thing in the morning, life gets in the way and I haven't got
Mhm.
time for that and you don't do it. Yeah.
Yeah. I heard a quote somewhere is, "If you don't have time to meditate for 5 minutes, you need to meditate for 45."
Yes. Yeah. And like when I have clients, oh, I haven't got time to do a 20-minute meditation. I say, well, how long do you watch Netflix for a day? And they, what do you mean? I go, they're like, oh, maybe 2 hours. Like,
You're like,
you've,
"Busted."
you've got time for what's important to you, right? Like people
Mhm.
spend money on what's important to them. People spend time with people who are important to them.
Yeah.
Like, I've got people. Yeah, we've got to catch up, and you say that every 6 months, to them, you never catch up because it's not actually that important, or they're not that close to you, which is okay. You
Right.
can't, you can't catch up with everyone. You can't do everything, but you will find time and money for what's important for you.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think one of the challenges with sticking with it, along with sticking with the gym, is that it takes a long time to not a long time necessarily, but you don't see immediate results.
Yeah,
That it usually takes some consistency, and in our culture we have been so conditioned to have immediate results. I mean, I think our attention span is less than a goldfish now, thanks
yeah,
social media. Like,
yeah.
it's really bad.
But that's
So,
the
yeah.
thing. Yeah, people want results straight away. And the thing with meditation is it's not a seen result, right? Like
Right,
when you lose weight, people go, "Oh my god, what do you do?" And like everyone wants to know. But the
right.
interesting with you're doing meditation right, is when people go, "You're what's happened? You're different. You shut like they feel it, right?"
Mhm.
So, and like when I started meditation, I got these great results. I'm like to my wife, I'm like, "You have to meditate. You got to meditate." And she's when you tell a partner to do something, they're not going to do it, right? Like if
Right,
you're
right.
so she was very resistant, and then just left it. And then about 3 months later, she came up and goes, "All right, what's this meditation you're talking about?" Like, because she could see the benefit or the results I was getting, but it's
Mhm.
not seen, and it does take time. Like, it probably took me. Some people, like some of my clients, it's like a week and they can feel it, but it was like 2 months for me of
Yeah.
just consistently showing up. And the only reason I did it for that long is because had a coach at the time, and he's like, "Keep going, keep going." Get going. And it's like,
You
all
had
right,
someone holding you accountable for it.
yeah, I was paying this
Yeah.
guy a lot of money, so I was going to do whatever he told me to do, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing what happens when you pony up the money for something. You're like, "Okay, well, I guess I have to do it then."
Yeah, and the more you pay, the more you pay attention, right? So, but when I do webinars, I do free webinars sometimes. You get 100 people register. I know only 40 are going to show up.
Mhm.
But if I do a paid webinar and there's 100, 90
Uh-huh.
to 95 people show up. And it's only like $50. Like but
Right.
they got skin in the game.
Yeah.
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 So that's like,
I
yeah.
I noticed that difference. We did a summit for Hair of the Dog the past 2 years, and I was gonna be free, and then I'm like, no, it's gonna be paid," but the payment was only like 10 or $17, and it went to, I have a nonprofit, a conservation fund, so it went to that, and the engagement was just so much better even when people are paying like $10. It's a no-brainer investment, but just by taking that action and really kind of committing to, I've committed some resources to this, so now I'm gonna show up. I'm wondering if there's a parallel there too for people that are building their photography business. Like, the power of committing to the action, of actually starting to take that first step. And something else just came up for me too, and that is I hear so many people talk about, "Well, I'm just not motivated to do that. Oh, I'm just not motivated to do that." And they're waiting for this like magical motivation fairy to like show up at their door and be like, "Here's your motivation on a silver platter." Where
Yeah.
actually the motivation comes after the action, right? You take the action and you're like, "Oh my god, I'm starting to see a result." And
Yeah,
then
and I think it's also there's a really good quote. It's something like "choose your hard," right? So
yeah.
it's hard to have a shitty business, right? Because
Right.
you've got no money, but it's also hard to market and show up and do the work. Which hard do you want, right?
Right.
So it's it's hard to get up early and go to the gym and meditate and everything, but it's also hard to be overweight and not have the energy you want and not to be able to focus. So you get to pick. Like
Right.
nothing's easy. Like nothing worth anything in life comes easy. You have to put in some effort.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that. Absolutely. I love this conversation though of the things that people don't think about. And we were starting to talk prior to starting this of how when we're coaching people, we can often see fairly quickly who's going to have success based on the actions they take. And by the way, guys, this is not set in stone. It's like, oh, this person's going to have success and this other person's never going to have success. But that common denominator amongst the people that we see getting all sorts of results in their business is that taking action and that taking action in the face of fear.
Yeah, and I think you hit on something there. Like what happens to a lot of us is we think we're set in our ways, or I'm innately shy, or I'm
Mhm.
not good at business, or I'm not this, I'm not that, and that's just who I am. But that's not true. That's just that's a limiting belief people have about where they're at. But they can change that, right? Like
Mhm.
you're not just good at business, right? It doesn't just happen. You work at it, and you can be shy, and then you can move through that shyness with
Mhm.
work to not be shy. Like there's all these things that are stopping people. I go, I'm just not good at marketing. I'm not good enough at, like, the amount of people that say, I just got to get better at my photography, and they're phenomenal photographers.
Right?
Like, like most of the people I coach are way better photographers than I ever was, or I am. And I'm like, it's got nothing to do with that. It's just look at how look at the lens, pardon the pun, that you're seeing yourself through at the moment, right?
Mhm.
And it's like people got glasses on that are shading their view of themselves or what they're capable of. And that's why we go into a lot of the start of the coaching is diving into where that comes from, where that stems from, because a lot of the time it stems from early, childhood, where,
Mhm.
and money blocks are huge with this, where people are told, rich people are evil or money doesn't grow on trees, and they have all this money blocks
Mhm.
from their parents and their grandparents and society. And that's probably one of the biggest things I see with my clients is like the money blocks are so huge, and it's something I'm really aware of with my kids, and how we talk about money and how they show up around money as well, because it's one of the biggest life skills you can have. If you can have a really
Mhm.
powerful relationship with money, and money's just an exchange of energy. It's like we put so much importance on it, but there's so much out there, and everyone's so scared of it.
Right. Right. No, this is huge. And yeah, I have the same thoughts. My kids are 12 and 15 and I'm like, "Man, I hope I like did a good job." Like I hope that something I randomly said when they were like 2 isn't going to be some subconscious belief that they're going to hold on to for their whole life about um
Well,
whatever.
I heard
It's
a quote.
crazy.
Someone said, "You're going to screw your kids up somehow. Just don't make it too bad."
Yeah, exactly. Just keep it like low
Yeah,
level so they have something to work on.
yeah. You love me
um
too much. You didn't love me enough. You like
Yeah,
because
yeah, right. Oh, man, for real. Oh, yeah. No, but about those limiting beliefs, and then I wanna go on to the money stuff. But those limiting beliefs, I think, are, oh man, probably one of the biggest things holding people back, and one of the most insidious, because I don't even think many people are realizing what their limiting beliefs are, or what that story is that's playing in our head, because it's so, it's, I mean, it's not our subconscious. Our subconscious wouldn't tell us false stories like that, but our conscious brain is just has that on repeat, and this like little silent little silent whispering behind your ear all the time that you just start to
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think that's the key, like, a lot of most people I coach aren't aware of them.
Mhm.
Some people are, but a lot of them aren't even aware that that's what's stopping them, and when we dive into it, some like, when you see that aha moment, they're like, "Shit, I didn't," like, and because what I do is you can find it pretty quick when you're talking to someone. I can see it
Yep.
because I've done this a lot. Okay, this is actually the problem. Where's that stem from? And then like, oh, and then they talk and they go, oh my god, that my dad used to say this all the time,
Mhm.
and I didn't even realize. And that's blocking them 30 years later without even knowing. But when you're aware of it, that's when you can shift it, right?
Right.
And it's not one of those things that you go, oh, I know what it is, it's gone. It's like, I sort of say, it's like taking layers off it. Like you slowly
Mhm.
peel it like an onion, you're slowly peeling it back with repetition, with habit, with changing how you're showing up. And it gets, the hold on you has less and less over time. That's the key.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
takes work. It's like anything, it takes work as well.
And then once you get rid of one of them, you find out, "Oh, well, now there's another one under here. Oh, man," and then it's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah. And that's what I love about the mindset work is there's no destination. You're always moving. You're never going to get
Mhm.
there, which some people, when I tell them, they're like, oh my God. But I love that because it's just a self improvement, like over and
Mhm.
over. And you, like, you go to the next level and you're, oh shit, now there's this, now there's this. But it's
Mhm.
great because you keep improving. And I put a quote up um, on Instagram, which is life's the pursuit of the ideal version of yourself, which I love.
Mm.
Because
Mhm.
if you constantly try to improve how you show up and who you are, like life will just keep getting better and better. And you're going to come up against, the more you push against that, the more shit you come up against, the more, sorry to swear, I shouldn't
It's
swear,
all good. It's fine.
the more stuff that'll come up, right? Like when you go to
Yep.
another level, there's other stuff. And, in business, they say new level, new devil. I think
Mhm.
James might have said that, which
Yeah. Yeah.
it's great. So the more, when you take on staff, you've got different problems. When you get to a bigger turnover, you get different problems. When you have a
Mhm.
podcast, you've got other things that come up, right? But
Yep.
then that just gives you an opportunity to look at your stuff more and move through it.
What do you say to people that, I mean, they're in the future then, because they're fearful of, well, when I build my business to this level, then I'm like, scared of, I'm going to not have enough time. In order to do this, I'm going to have to give up time with the family. I'm going to be up all night editing. I'm going to do XYZ. So they're just blocking any sort of action because of the fear of what success might look like, even though we
Yeah.
can choose what that could look like.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing. Like, I think people have a preconceived idea of, and everyone believes that success is going to be stressful, it's going to be hard work, it's going to be long
Hmm.
hours. But and I thought that for years, and that was a big block of mine. And that's why I got a lot of success in business just by hustling and pushing and
Hmm.
working, and it's not sustainable. But what I found is the opposite is actually true, and you can get dramatically better results by working less and having less stress and outsourcing and all these different things. So when you become aware of that, it's like, well, I want $1 million business, but I can do that off working 20 hours a week. That's possible, right?
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
like I said, my photography, at one stage in my photography business, I was probably working 80 hours a week. It was crazy. Last year, I was working 5 hours a week and we're making the same amount of money.
Right.
But at that stage when I was working 80 hours a week, that wasn't possible to me because my mindset wasn't there and I didn't know that possibility. So
Right.
you get to choose and craft what your business looks like. And like you said, you find out from your clients, is it a part-time gig? Is it full-time? How many hours do you want to work? Are you a mum? Like, you get to decide what that looks like for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people forget that we have that power for all aspects of our life, right? That it's so easy to just go through the days and get pushed along with whatever current you're in until all of a sudden you wake up one day and you're like, what happened? Where am I? Like, who do I even want to be? Do
Yeah, and
you?
that it's easy to get into that space, but that's being, and I talk about this being, do you want to be proactive or reactive to your life?
Mm-hmm.
And I've been through phases of life where you're just getting through, right? And you're just getting through, and all of a sudden the year's going. You go, whoa, where did the year go? What did I achieve? And that's just
Right.
being You're just being reactive, and you're putting out fires as they come up. But when you're proactive, you set out what you want that to look like, and what holidays do you want to go on? How many hours do you want to work a week? What's your
Mm-hmm.
business look like? And you start moving in that direction because you're putting that frequency or energy out there and taking the actions necessary to bring that to reality.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's powerful.
Yeah. I love that. Do you have any sort of visualization practices with your meditation?
Yeah, 100%. I have when I meditate and I do a visualization afterwards, and the way I do that is I write out my ideal life at the start of every year,
Yeah.
and this is a little different to a goal. This is like there's no time frame. This is just, it's everything was as perfect as it could be. This is what it
Mhm.
would be like. This is where I live. This is what we're doing for holidays,
Like
business.
present time, you're writing it in basically present time.
You write it in the present
Yeah.
moment. Yes, so it's
Mhm.
already happened, and then you read it, then you close your eyes and you just visualize that life. And also, the important bit is feeling the feelings of that,
Mhm.
because when you feel the feelings, you're drawing it closer to you quicker, and time collapses. I don't want to get too into the quantum realm.
But it is, it's science, people. Quantum
Yeah,
physics, it's actual science.
it is, and
Yeah.
people think it's all woo woo rubbish, but it's so powerful because
Mhm.
I've done it before. Like this is like I've had those where they're reality now, and now we move to another
Mhm.
phase, and yeah, and it's just a cool thing to do. Like daydream, like kids daydream, right?
Right.
It's like they're great at it. Like it's such but we go, oh, the thing that comes up for everyone is like, okay, this is all good, well and good, but how?
Right.
And I say, let go of the how. Like, just
Mhm.
don't worry about the how. Worry about what you want, and then come back, and then you start moving in actions towards that. But also, people, places, circumstances will just start showing up in your field to move you towards that. Because if we want to get all woo woo, the universe is helping you move towards where you want to
Mhm.
go. If you're aware enough to follow the hints and the tips and things that get put in your way.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I believe firmly that all of us have exactly what we need to have success in whatever it is that we have the desire to have success in, or we wouldn't have that desire. So, if you want to have a successful photography business, you absolutely can. And it is just all of these little things getting out of our way. Was just down in Florida a couple, I guess it was about a month ago, around Christmas, New Year's time, and I was listening. It was James Wedmore's who we're talking about from Mind Your Business podcast. He does online business stuff, but a lot of mindset stuff. If you guys are into this and want to listen to more, I think you'd enjoy it. But anyway, it was one on intuition, and I was listening to it on a walk, and I was just like, "Huh, all right, dear universe, here we go. I want to see. I don't know. Show me something. Show me something, some sort of sign, whatever." I'm like, okay. So I'm walking, and literally 5 seconds later, there's this little yellow butterfly. And I'm like, oh, but I'm in Florida. That's cute. Then 3 times that day, I was in Florida for 2 weeks. I didn't see any butterflies other than that day I saw three. I was like, wow, okay. Message received. So it's just incredible when you just can you approach it as just a playful, I don't know, show me what you got. Let me see. And not from a show me what you got, like I don't believe you. Just hey, I'm gonna crack this door open and let's just see what happens. Because it could be like a 3D thing that you see like that, or it could be just a hunch. I know I get a lot of, I call them like mental downloads when I wake up. I wake up maybe 4 or 5 in the morning, and then I fall back asleep for another hour or two. And like that time where I'm kind of asleep and I'm kind of awake, oftentimes I wake up and I'm like, I need to write something down," because
Yeah,
it's I think your subconscious and your conscious mind, like, all just in a
yeah,
relaxed state, like, it's all just coming through, and
yeah, and I get sometimes that in meditation, and I do what I call them intuitive walks, where I go out into nature without any podcasts or anything, just
yeah.
walk and just this is if I need I feel like I need an idea, I need something, or I'm stuck, and I'll just because I do a bit of Vedic training, being a rishi and stuff. There's a thing, you sort of guru dev like thanking nature. So you're sort
Uh-huh.
of walking, you're silently thanking nature, and the amount of downloads or whatever you want to call them,
Yeah.
intuition that hits you, and the amount of times it's been something really small, and you're, oh, that's interesting. Okay, I'll follow that thread,
Mhm.
and that leads to that, which leads to that, and all of a sudden it's this big thing that just came from one tiny thought. And a lot of the time, like it might be, I remember listening to one of James's podcasts actually, and it was a lady doing a membership program, and so I'm like, something just triggered me to turn his on it because I watch it.
Mhm.
I've got a lot
Right?
of podcasts. Something thought, oh, this one might be interesting, and listened to it. It was the right timing, and I thought that's amazing. Then that thread now is what we've just launched
Right.
a year later or 6 months. I can't remember now, but it was that tiny little thread. I could have ignored that.
Yep.
Instead, I kept following it, and it led to what's transpired now. So, and it's been really great.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that, and I think to bring it full circle, that a lot of my students and a lot of people that I talk to, when they have an idea, like they want to start a photography business, they feel like they need to know every single step. And they
Yeah,
want to know exactly what do I need to do for get from point A to point 8002, where really you just need to know steps 1, 2, and maybe 3.
yeah, and
And then
this
the
happens
rest
all
comes.
this happens all the time where someone wants to be coached or potentially wants to be coached, and they reach out and they go, I've just got to do my website first. I've got to get my logo and I've got all this stuff. And then 6 months later, you'll reach out. I'm still doing my fine tuning my website. And I'm like, I started my coaching business with no logo, no website,
Yep.
and just launched a program that I hadn't written yet. Now,
Right.
the reason I launched a program I hadn't written is because my coach said, launch it, get some people in, then write it. And it
Right.
was so powerful because then I had to write it. I had to, I said, all right, it starts in 3 weeks. And like, shit. And like, get it all done. But I didn't have a website for 2.5 years. And we did a great, we had a great turnover. You don't,
Right.
people think that, like you said, they need all these steps in place. You don't. Like,
Yep.
just start. Like, start what you want to do is get a cash flow going so you can buy and pay for the things you need to do.
Yeah.
Like, I, it's ideally I probably would have had a website, but didn't matter,
Right.
right? Yeah.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
just, yeah, like messy action, I call it.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. For sure. I also want to talk really quick too about gratitude, because I feel like that is one of the most powerful feelings and emotions that we can drop into. Do you have a specific gratitude practice, or is that kind of wrapped up in your meditation practice?
Yeah, that you're spot on. That's one of, if not the most powerful thing practices you can have, and it's so easy and so simple. It takes like 5 minutes. So part of my morning ritual is a gratitude practice, but it's like three things you're grateful for. But what people tend to do is just phone it in and go, all right, kids,
Yeah,
wife,
right.
and in the house, right? But you got to be really specific with it, and you got to think about it like it might be, the hug my son gave me this morning that was really beautiful
Mm-hmm.
instead of my kids, or it might be, the amazing three new clients I got on board that I get to coach,
Mm-hmm.
or the coffee, my taste of the coffee this morning, or be very specific. And the key is to feel the feeling of it as
Mm-hmm.
as you're writing it. So I do it morning and night, and what happens is, like I said, it's a tool, but as you do it, you're rewiring your brain every day, twice a day. You start to just become grateful a lot more and a lot more
Mm-hmm.
positive. So you see something like, you know, I get teased a bit sometimes because I'm like, oh, look how beautiful the sun looks going through the trees. Or,
Literally happened to me today. I was grazing my horse and I looked up and there's this little flock of seagulls that flew by and I was just like, God, that's so beautiful. This is amazing. I'm so thankful I get to witness this right now.
yeah. And it's so powerful because that gratitude frequency is like, it's attracting what
Mhm.
you want to is so much faster because, when we're talking about going through and doing your ideal life and visualizing, if you can have gratitude for that before it's shown up, it's
Mhm.
literally pulling it towards you 10 times faster. So, this is one thing people do. I think that's such a simple thing to do, but you have to do it daily. Like it's not, you
Mhm.
have to, have it as a habit. And
Yeah.
the easiest thing, like it's easy to forget to do stuff, but I'd call it habit stacking where you wake up and you meditate, gratitude, and all these things are stacked together so you don't have to remember to do them. They're all in one little bundle. And I do that
Mhm.
when I get up. And then before I go to bed, I do this. It's like it's stacked. So you don't have to go, oh, I haven't done my gratitude or what
I
do you
love
want to
that.
do? Yeah.
So I know one reason or one way that I tend to have great what's the word I'm looking for? Big plans, but fall short sometimes is when I try to do too many things. So I fear that someone might listen to this and be like, man, this sounds good. I need to have gratitude practice and a meditation practice and a journaling practice and again a nature practice and like all these things. And then you like go gung ho for a couple days. It's like the New Year's at the gym, right? Like all of a sudden everybody's there. And then by January 15th, it's like, oh, yep, it's just me again. So for me then, I start with like, all right, let me start with one. I'm committing to one thing. And then some days I might add some others. And then that one becomes like a non-negotiable habit. Then it's really easy to add that second one. So do you have any advice for someone that maybe wants to start incorporating more of this into their life, kind of where to start?
Yeah. It's a really good point because we can try to do too much and then it doesn't work. Like if you go, I'm going to work out 3 times a week, I'm going to cut out carbs, I'm going to cut out sugar, I'm going to meditate. You're not going to do it, right? So yeah, I
Right.
think the simplest thing is just a morning ritual of a meditation and a gratitude practice. Pop them together,
Mhm.
and then build in the visualization, different things. But just those two things, and I call what I do with my clients is what I call a conscious commitment for a month. So I've actually got it here. I always do it's little, 30 days or
Nice.
whatever in the month, and I can track it. And it's like, all right, what's the conscious commitment? It's like, I'm going to meditate every day for a month or whatever it might be for you.
Mhm.
Keep it simple and just you're committing to yourself to do it for a set period of time. A month's good because it's, you know, we, it's not, it's a long enough amount of time to start getting a habit to stick, but it's not too long that you go, oh, I can't do that.
Right.
And the key to it is if you miss a day, don't just throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's just like, okay, I missed a day, start again. Or
Mhm.
go to day 10. If I miss day 9, just keep going, right?
Yeah.
And don't feel guilt about it. It's like you're trying to form this habit. So you're gonna slip up. It's not about being perfect. It's just about trying to improve. And I think meditation and gratitude are the two easy ones to start with. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree for sure. Do you have any? I know I have a few of my favorite. I call them like the gateway drug starter, just quantum physics, all the things. Do you have any books for someone that's like finally maybe just starting to be like, okay, I've heard about this a lot. Maybe I'm interested in learning more about how this frequency and energy and stuff works. Do you have any recommendations?
There's a cool book. It's a weird title, and I sort of dismissed it when I got told about it. It's called A Happy Pocket Full of Money.
Oh my god, I love that one. It's right behind me.
Oh, you got that? Yeah.
Yeah, here it is.
It's
It's right there.
it blew my mind, that book.
Yeah.
And it's a fairly easy read. Like what I mean by that is
Mhm.
like Dr. Joe Dispenza's amazing as well, but his books are pretty hefty and
They are.
yeah. So probably a good starter would be that book, A Happy Pocket Full of Money.
Yeah.
And then Dr. Joe Dispenza, I'd instead of reading his book to start with, I'd just go on YouTube and watch his stuff because that's awesome. I'm actually going to his intensive workshop in next month, um,
Oh, cool.
which would be cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, and podcasts like James Wedmore's podcast, I think is a really good start as well
Yeah.
on that sort of
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Mind Your Business podcast. If you guys want to
Mm,
listen to it, it's great. Yeah. Happy Pocket Full of Money. One of my favorites is The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks.
that's a great book. Yeah.
Yeah. That was my starter book. And there's another fun one. Um, E Squared by Pam Grout.
I've heard about it. I haven't read that. As you can
It's
see,
so good.
I've got all the lots of books. I'm an avid reader. I love
Yeah.
reading. Yeah.
Yeah, I love these kinds of books too. But it's really, really fascinating. It's a book that basically is written for skeptics to test out different little like mind tricks. And one of them, oh gosh, there were a couple. There was one that was like, I'm going to find a quarter today. And I was like, okay, whatever, let's play. I'm not leaving my house. And something happened. Like I wasn't planning on leaving the house. And I'm like, all right, but I'll still do it. Let's see. And something happened. I think one of the kids spilled water and I had to pull the fridge out a little bit. Lo and behold, there was a damn quarter. I'm like, all right then. And the same thing happened with it was another one of the experiments in that book, I think. And I was on a cruise and we were like in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean and we had the kids and we were about to go on dinner. It's a Disney cruise and like everyone's out there dancing. 'Cause there's a little music and I wanted to see a feather that day. And lo and behold, there's this little white feather on the dance floor. Nobody's wearing like it was a little feather that would have came off a kid's costume, but nobody was wearing anything that had feathers on it at the time. And it was just like right in front of me. I'm like,
I
okay.
I love that stuff. I was talking about this with a group, one of my coaching groups, and one of the guys said, "I don't believe in this manifestation stuff," and blah blah. And I've started talking about it. And then he goes, "Oh, actually, my son had this really. It happens to my son a lot, and he's got an
Yeah.
autistic. His son's autistic. He's
Uh-huh.
like I think he's 18 or 20, so he's a bit older. But you got what you autistic kids and people think like they haven't got the
Right.
limitations right, and so
Mhm.
he'd say this happens to him all the time, and he gave us an example where he said, um, just before he left, he's talked about I want an orange knitted sweater. I can't remember what color it was. Just something real random, right? An
Yeah.
orange knitted sweater, I think it was, and then he goes, "Oh, anyway, I'm going for a walk." And then he comes back half an hour later with an orange knitted sweater on. And I go, "What happened?" He goes, "Oh, he said he was just walking and some lady walked out and goes, 'Hey, this will probably fit you. Do you want this sweater?'" And and you don't believe in this? And he's
That's
like,
amazing.
"Yeah." And it was so, and he goes, "It happens to him all the time." And I think it's because he's autistic. He hasn't got the blinkers on.
Right, he doesn't shut it down
He
with
doesn't shut
his
it down.
like, "Well, this
Yeah.
isn't supposed to work this way, so no."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
that's why kids have got that. That kids have got that as well. Like it's
Yeah.
that, but we shut it down. But
Mhm.
like when I hear stories like that, it's just I love it. It's just like
I love it. Oh my gosh,
blows
we could
your
have a
mind.
whole podcast on those stories. My daughter actually manifested a pet snail. Um, she was like, "Oh, I want a snail." We're like, "We're not getting a snail. Like, where do you even get a snail? They don't really sell snails." So then she likes to have plants. So she had quite a few plants in her room. And last winter, we've had Palmer the snail for about a year now. On she had a little palm tree in her room, and she came and like told me and my husband, she's like, "Mom, Dad, I have to talk to you." We're like, "Oh God," like 14, what's going on? She's like, "I found this snail on my plant and I thought, figured it was probably dead, but you're supposed to," she researches everything. You're supposed to like put a little like wet paper towel over it and then, it might come back alive. And well, it's alive and it's winter and I don't want to put it outside because it might die and it could also be invasive. So we're like, okay, you could keep the snail. Well played. You manifested yourself a snail.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's crazy. So, yeah. Oh my gosh. So many great stories. This has been such a fun conversation. Um, let's just wrap it up maybe with um just some last advice, final words for, anyone that's out there trying to get to whatever that next level is in their business or life.
Yeah, I think one thing, like life's so short, right?
Mhm.
And the only time we feel that is when something happens, right? Like someone passes away or there's some sort of thing. But like I think it's too short not to chase your dreams, and not like so many of my clients that may be in a job they hate, but they're so scared to
Mhm.
start their own business. It's like, well, just start small. Be brave enough just to go out and start as a side hustle. Like you don't have to quit
Mhm.
your job straight away, but go out and just chase it. Like if that's what you want, then go out
Yeah.
and do it and find avenues and ways to get through your fears, and mindset hacks, and meditation, gratitude. Start small and do things like that that are going to rewire your brain so you can show up more powerfully to go for those things that you want in life.
I love it. I love it. Well, if people have resonated with this conversation and they want to learn more from you, where can they find you?
Yeah, well, I'm just like, because I've finished my photography business now, I'm like going in on Insta. I never really did much on Instagram at all until the last month or so. I'm loving Instagram because it's so easy to get tips and tools and stuff out there. So Joel Dunn, JOHLDUNN on Instagram, or joeldunn.com is the website.
Perfect.
JOHLDUNN.com. And yeah, if you have any questions or anything, yeah, hit me up, DM. Yeah, and happy to chat.
DM us both with any fun manifestation stories you guys have out there
Yeah, I
because
love them.
those are my favorite. Fantastic. Oh my gosh, Joel, this has been so good. I could continue on with this conversation forever. Thank you so much for taking the time and being here with us, and really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I had a great time.
Of course. All right, everybody. We'll talk to you next week.